Okay, so today we're gonna talk about how to use the UFO 2.0. So this is a carrying bag. We sell it at rodlessreel.com. It can fit in your pocket, or you can use a carabiner to clip it to your belt loop or to your pants. Anyways, so this is the Rodless Reel UFO 2.0, and when you receive yours, it will not have any grease on it. So the first thing you can do if you want to put some grease in it, in order to disassemble this reel, you could push down with your thumb here and then help the prongs jump over the spool, so you can disassemble it just like that. Alright, so once you have your reel broken down into its three parts, here's the spool part, and here's your handle, and here's your core. So if you want to put grease on this, you can run this dry. The benefit of running this reel without grease is that it won't attract any sand as easily into the reel. But with grease, if you're careful with it, you can get a little bit smoother of a retrieval with it. So the way that I apply grease on this reel, I just put a tiny bit of grease. So you can take grease, you can use oil as well if you want. And I just put a little bit inside the spool, just literally just, a couple little spots inside there. Like that. Then once I have a little bit of grease inside there, I'll just kind of work the grease around there. When you receive your reel too, it's anodized completely on this spool, so there's a little break-in period that the little bit of the anodizing will rub off on the inside of this, so it'll become a little bit smoother after the first couple times you use it. So after you use it, each time you do want to clean it to remove any grime or anything. So okay, so we've got the grease all spread around the inside of this reel. Now we're going to take the handle and just hold it in place here. It just sits in this recess here. And on the new UFO reel, the handle can't come out when your line's depleted like the old model. So the old model, the line held that on. So once you got that in, then you're going to take this core, and I like to take it where that break is here for the handle, and put it towards where the handle is. And then you get two of the prongs down into the spool, and then after that you just kind of help push this other one in. You can hear it snap together. Alright, so once your reel's all together, give it a couple spins to work that grease around in between all the parts, and you're all set. Okay, now we're gonna put line on the reel. Alright, I highly recommend you only use 10-pound mono or less on these reels. The reason why, you can get away with using thick braid and thick line, but it's a major safety issue. If you have 30-pound braid on this reel and you hook into a 50-pound catfish and it starts pulling, and that line happens to bounce around your fingertips, it will pull, and the only thing that's going to give is your fingertips. It's going to pull off the tips of your fingertips. So only use 10-pound mono or less. The idea is that if something bad happens, the line will snap before it hurts anybody. So yeah, if you really need to use like some really strong leader or something like that, you can use, a few feet of or a couple yards of some braid that way. But yeah, I highly recommend you only use 10-pound mono or less. Alright guys, so the way I like to attach the line to this reel, just take your mono. I have my mono here, and I'm just going to wrap 2 wraps around it, and then I'm going to tie a couple knots. You could use whatever method you prefer. This is the method that I attach the line to this reel, and this works just fine. It's kind of hard to do it to show on the camera, but alright, so you got 1 knot here, and we'll just I usually do like 5 or 6 knots just to really secure the line on there. So we'll do 3, 4, 5 should be fine. Okay, see, now you've got the line wrapping around here twice, and you've tied it off here, and then you can just use a pocket knife or something and cut off your tag in there. Just cut it down into there. Okay. Now what I do to spool this reel is typically you want to do up to 120 wraps. You can vary around that. You can get up to like 150 wraps, but then it's going to be harder to keep the line on the spool. The highest amount of line wraps I recommend is 120. That's around 30 yards of line. Or if you want to have a funner time fishing, you can do 100 wraps, and it'll be even easier to control the line, but then you just won't have as much to cast. So anyways, if you're right-handed, I hold the reel with the left hand and I wrap counterclockwise. So there's 1 wrap, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And every once in a while you can flip the spool over. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. And I'm just pulling some pressure as I do it. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. So you could stop here, but I'm going to do an extra 20 because this is kind of a bigger pond and I want to cast out to the middle of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so now I've got 120 wraps on this reel. So what I'm going to do is just cut the line. All right. Okay. All right, so now we're going to attach the lure. Right now, today, I'm just going to use this power bait. I think it's supposed to be black, but it's a little off black worm here. So, and I will then, after this I'll show you some good lures you could throw with this thing. But so anyways, we're just going to tie this guy on. Just going to use the type of fishing knot that I like to use. You can do this stuff however you prefer. That I like to throw. All right. Okay, there we've got our worm set up. Man, this particular worm is very buoyant, so I'm going to attach a weight. I don't like to use slip weights as much as I like to use clip weights, because the clip weight you can put the weight a little bit further up the line from the hook. This, in my opinion, reduces the chance of snags. When you have that weight right up against where your hook is, it seems like it's easier to get snags for some reason. So yeah, anyways, just take this weight and I'll put it like, 4 inches or so above my hook, and use pliers to give it some extra force on there. Alright, now this is the setup that I'll use today, but I will go through some other setups that I would use. And also the thing with this Rodless Reel UFO reel, so when you're transporting it between spots or whatever, or you want to stick in your pocket, there are these park holes in the back. So you can just pull a little tension in the line, and then you can just kind of hook it here, and you can see where your hook is. It's going inside where this hole is. That'll hold your lure in place, so you can travel around and not have it getting all unwound or anything. Okay, so here are some lures I recommend using with this, or that can be used with the Rodless Reel UFO 2.0. One of the best lures to cover a lot of ground is just a rooster tail. This is a real heavy rooster tail. This is a 3/8 one. It's pretty massive, but you could really lob this thing super duper far, and once you get that blade spinning coming back, you can really cover a lot of ground. So yeah, sometimes I use this as my last lure I'll throw, because if I'm about to leave a spot and I just want to cover every single piece of that water, I can use that. I also like the smaller rooster tails. These cast pretty freaking far too, and they, you know, I like the ones with the gold blades. Like here's one of my favorites. It's this brown with the gold blade. Man, I have caught a lot of fish on these. I love rooster tails. I think they're one of the best. There's a lot of imitation rooster tails out there, and they just didn't get the weight ratio or the retrieval ratio, or just they didn't sit there and R&D them very good. The rooster tails work super good, the actual name brand ones. Also another lure that I've been using a lot lately in saltwater is, it's called the Pet Spoon. This is a beautiful lure. It's a little expensive. I think they're like $6 or $7 or something, which is kind of pretty expensive for a spoon, but it's such a good lure. I've caught I just caught a snook in Cozumel on this, and then last year I caught another fish in Cozumel on this lure, and I threw all kinds of different stuff. And so yeah, great lure. Every time I use these, the little thing falls off the feather, so I don't know if they need to fix that. But anyway, I'll just rip it off then and still catch fish on those. Really nice fish. It's great lure for the UFO reel. It got a great retrieval rate and everything. And then of course, like for, you know, I'll use these owner mosquito hooks in size 1. These are awesome. I'll put a piece of Wonder Bread balled up on that, and I won't use any weights or anything, and I'll chunk this out on the UFO reel and catch humongous carp. I'll even catch catfish on that as well. I might try that today. I also really prefer these bait hooks from Eagle Claw, this 3/0 size. These hooks are the best for not getting as many snags, and you can throw your bait on the bottom or even live bait. And man, some of the best hooks in the planet. Most fishermen already know that though. And then these are the old school type of worm hooks. Of course, a lot of the newer fishermen are using the wider shank style hooks. I like those too, but I still prefer these type of hooks the most. I don't know, something about them just seem to work best for me. I like how finesse they are. You can get them through a lot of weed coverage and stuff. And then of course I really like these Zoom little bitty salamanders. This is in, I think, the pumpkin seed, green pumpkin. But they also make them, you know, and other brands make them too, like Yum makes some really good ones. But yeah, and I'll use the clip weights, but you could use slip weights. You could use whatever you want. You could throw spinner baits with the UFO reel. You could use live bait, cut bait. This thing, it has a fast retrieval rate, but it also has a lot of torque. So you can, it was a balance between torque and speed. And yeah, it's just a 1-to-1, but it spins really quick because the diameter of the spool is just big enough to get a spinner bait to come in pretty easily with its spinning motion. And anyways, okay, so let's get into some other information about this reel. Also, I thought I'd show you guys a closer look at these bags. So this is the new bag we're selling, and it's got some cool sleeves on the back where you can put some tackle, like, you know, say you want to put your pocket knife, you can slap it in there. This is kind of how I usually run my pocket knife. And then you know, on the inside it has 2 different compartments. That's what I liked about this bag. So you could stick your reel. I put it in the back here, and then in the front you can have all your tackle and stuff. So yeah, as you can see, I've got some various jigs and rooster tails and stuff. And then what I keep in mind is just like a little line clipper. So if I, you know, want to take this in my truck or just keep it on me, I can always fish and always cut my line. And yeah, also sometimes I keep a little pair of pliers in there too, just so if in case I hook a fish too deep. All right guys, so now we're gonna go over casting the UFO Rodless Reel. Okay, so what you want to do is just pull out a little bit of line. First I'm gonna set my lure up a little more weedless. I'm gonna poke the hook back into that worm there. Okay, so what I do is you can pull out a little bit of line, and then I find the best way to cast this is the underhand spin cast. You could also just throw your lure, but basically whenever I'm casting, I got my ring finger is kind of controlling the line, so see the line can't come off of there. And then whenever I cast, I let it go, and then that line will just peel right off the front of that. See, because there's a ramp on this side, and the back side is flat. So and you could lock in your finger and then use this as a hand line too. So a lot of times when you're reeling in the line, if you have a lot of slack in your line, you need to just hand line it back in. You always want the line to sit onto the spool super snug, okay? So again, now we're gonna pull out a little bit of line just like this. And when you want to cast, you just give it a spin like this, spin, spin, spin. And once it gets some momentum, you throw it and let go and aim the front piece of the reel, the circle part, aiming towards the way you want to cast, okay? So again, see, we're gonna spin it and then throw it, and then we can turn the reel sideways and then begin to reel in, okay? But see, if we want to work it like a hand line, like say there's a lot of slack in the line, we can lock our finger on here and then just start wrapping the line. And you can do it quick if you want to give your worm some pops on the bottom there, which is a good action to try to catch some fish, you know? And so we'll reel it back in here, and then I'll pick it up over the bank there so it doesn't snag the bank. And then look, I can see I'm hand lining it now to get that line on there nice and snug. You always want your line sitting really flush there before your cast, or else you'll get some bird nest or something. Okay, let's do that in a first person view. Alright guys. Okay, so I'm going to show you again how to cast this in a first person view. So we're going to take our hook here, pull it out of that hook holder. Alright, and you hold the reel like this, you put your thumb in the big part, and where the divider is, that's for your these two fingers. It helps give them more stability on the grip. Alright, and now I'm going to run this a little bit weedless. I'm going to poke this back into this. There are some snags at this spot. Okay, now I'm just going to pull out, you know, a little bit of line here, and we're going to grip it from the underhand like this. And then, you know, I'm using this ring finger to kind of control the line so it can't just come flying off of there, you know. And then now I'm just going to give it an underhand spin like this, and once it's got momentum, I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to open my finger here so it can go flying there, right? Then I'm going to turn it sideways, making sure the line is situated underneath. It's going to retrieve underneath the reel and this reel. And here we go. I'm working a soft plastic here, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of action by reeling and stopping, kind of just making that worm pop on the bottom here. I'm fishing right now for a largemouth bass. I realize that camera might be a little bit low. Okay. I'm gonna pop it up in those sticks here. All right. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you again. So see, I'm wrapping, I got my finger locking that. See, if it's not locked, it could spin freely. So I lock my finger is locking that from being able to spin from the core. So it's like a solid hand line. Then you want to wrap that counterclockwise if you're right-handed. All right, now we're going to pull out just the line we want to cast from underhand grab. And we're gonna, again, I'm controlling the line with my ring finger here. Now we're gonna do an underhand spin here, a couple of spins. Once it gets some good momentum, we're gonna chunk it. Boom, there you go. All right, now we're making sure we're all situated with the reel facing this way. The decently solid grip. You don't have to over grip it because the fish is pulling this way, so it's pretty hard for it to pull it out of your hand. So, you know, just a nice, you know, relaxed grip. And we're just working that worm on the bottom here along this corner here. Might catch a bass here. Just kind of working it. See, now we're hand lining it. You can do this to give it more pop. If you really want to yank it off the bottom there. Really get those fish wanting to bite it here. Because they are playing hard to get, so really gonna entice them with this action here. And I'll just pick it up over the bank so I don't snag the bank. You don't have a rod to pick it up over that, so you have to just keep that in mind. Something to get used to. And then at the end of my line, I always use a hand line method to wrap it to get it nice and tight. So I'm ready to go again.
Okay, I'm spinning underhand and chunk it out there, laying it right by the sticks, making sure it's all situated, start reeling it in. Now a bass is taking it, so I just reel in a lot to set that hook. And I'm reeling, and okay, now I'm reeling him in. Okay, now I've taken my right hand off the handle while he's pulling drag, and I got my left hand ring finger was pushing up against the spool, putting resistance on it. See here, I'm reeling him in again, and then watch when he goes to pull again, he's gonna pull some drag again. Okay, see again, he's pulling drag. Now I'm reeling him in again, and now the fight's over. I can just pull him up. So that's how you kind of use the hand drag when catching a fish.
Alright guys, well, that's just about all I can think of for now for using the UFO 2.0. Great little hand line, fun to use, fun to catch fish on, and great to fight big fish with. It's got plenty of leverage to pull big fish in, yet it's got, you know, a good retrieval rate. So anyways, if you have any other questions, just shoot them down in the comments or send me an email, and I'd be glad to respond, especially in the comments. So maybe if there's any questions any other people are thinking of, you may have asked it for them. Yeah, so again, here it is. It's about 3 inches in diameter, and you know, you can fit it right in your pocket. I just took mine on a trip to Cozumel, and it was funny, the TSA people actually pulled it out of my bag and like looking at it like, what the hell is this? But made it through. So I got it to Cozumel, and did a little bit of fishing out there and had a lot of fun with it. So, you know, I did see some people that had, like this old guy had a collapsible fishing pole sticking out of his backpack, and I thought that was too funny, because I was going with this thing. No one even, the cool thing about this is no one can tell that you're going to fish. So, you know, a lot of times I'll be walking into these little spots and just, you know, all I got on me right now is a backpack for my camera equipment, and then, you know, even if I wasn't recording, I would just have the little pocket bag with this in it and a few lures. That's typically what I'll carry with it when I'm not recording. But yeah, great little reels. I got them on rodlessreel.com right now for 99 bucks. And yeah, it's totally a great grab. Get them while we still have them. Alright guys, so as always, shop now at rodlessreel.com and fish anywhere. Alright, and to clean the reel, what I'll do is I'll pop it apart. So just put your thumb pushing down on the middle lightly, and then just help the little prongs get past the spool, and should push through. Okay, once you have the reel apart, just throw it in the water, and I got some soapy water in here, and I'll just clean the inside to remove all the grit. Also use a ear cleaner in here. Pull out the grease out of there. Let's run some water over it. The spool's clean. Set it out to dry. And for the core, just go around all the outer edge to pull off all the grease and grime. Go a little bit through here too, in case you got any stuff inside it.
Okay, and last but not least, the handle. Just take off all the grease on the ball. And what got stuck in there. Got the handle too. Alright, then after that, I will just set it out to dry on a paper towel. And once it's done drying, you can pop the pieces back together and off to fishing again.